So, Madama friends, now in this world we have two systems, the spiritual systems and the mundane systems and traditions. And so now regarding the Dharma path of the spiritual systems, then there have been a lot of great beings who really have realized the intent of the teachings and have practiced them and really attained the fruition. But then very special one among them has appeared in Tibet, Milarepa, and now we have this story of Milarepa here. And when we hear the story of a great being like that, then like an inspiration arises. We call it lucid faith, and then that leads to trusting faith and also longing faith. Longing faith is the longing to become free from suffering, self and other. And the lucid faith, the clear faith, is when you understand the qualities of those great beings, and you learn about their qualities when you hear about their story, their background. And so for this reason, because that's really important to know, I am extremely grateful for the translation of this book. So many dashi deleks for thank yous for that. So many of those who really have some intelligence really understand the preciousness of things like that. Now, there are many stories of the Buddhas of the past, and then the Buddha appears in different forms. And the Buddha appears in body, speech, and mind. And the Buddha's physical appearance is precious, and even though it is precious, actually the words of the Buddha, so the scriptures are actually even more precious, because within the words of the Buddha we can actually find his mind, and we cannot really find that so easily in a physical appearance like a statue. The statue just reminds us this is the Buddha, and which is also beneficial. But the Buddha himself had said actually, in future times, at the end of this degenerate age, I will appear in the scriptures. And he was really saying that the scriptures really are himself. We can really find him in the scriptures. And that is why to translate the words of the Buddha and to engage in these activities of distributing the scriptures and so on is really an incredible merit. And so now what is it that we call merit? And the merit is anything that benefits sentient beings. If we accumulate such merit, like distributing the scriptures and so on, then a lot of sentient beings benefit from that. And through the teachings, they learn to work with their suffering, to take the suffering as the path, and to create the causes of happiness for the future. And so basically the scriptures are opening their eyes to the workings of karma. And knowing all that, many sentient beings can become liberated from suffering. And when they become liberated from suffering, then you have accumulated merit, you who have given them those scriptures and so on. So actually Dharma activity like that is just like really skillful business actually. And it's the business that really actually brings you profit. So if others profit, then only then you will profit. Otherwise, if you do things just for your own profit and no one else profits, then that will really be your own downfall. It will fall back upon you. So a great way to accumulate merit really is through the scriptures, through the teachings of the Buddha.
이나 팔을 봤다마데 라고서 철대 요래 가리네 다다 다지 이요래 우리 카카리 니 코를 봤다니라 정말 가르쳐 용거를 용도 용어를 사고 요래 그좀 다지 이제 돈당 다지 이용을 생 다지 이용을 적기 차대용을 생기 탐지 생지 상지선 생지 봐야 돼. 이 파도 받으면 들이 다다라는 좀 되게 락을 봐서다 봐가지 차대 요래 되나 락을 와카카한테 코르인데 가리 사고 요래 내가 같이 너 받으면 좋다 나타지 락을 форм이요 버데 다지 이메를 답들이 고당들이 한바지라고 차대 요래 내가 말할 때 너무 똑같이 못 싸는 거 잡아줘 그다음 치고 올라오는 이제 똑바로 봐 뒤로 똑바로 세버져도 대파 뒤에서 그런다 아들은 교과지는 답을 추렸더니 뜻과 야리 다리 똑같은 잡을 메시지를 문에 통라지가 다 무서워지 저거다 담을 만들이 송다는 데 메상들이 대산들이 너로들 로중니지 싸워서 통치스럽게 대외적인 말하니까 남자들 좀 같이 보래 이봐라 담보라지 뜻바라 잡고 나와 이제 그치 뭐였지
So then the first thing that we should really understand from Milarepa's life story is how he overcame his own wrong that he had committed. The Buddha had first said, do not commit any wrong. And so that is because if we do wrong, in other words, if we harm others, then it will only come back. It will fall back upon you. And that is actually implied by this Tibetan term for this wrong or wronging others. And so then now, on the relative level, we perceive a duality of self and other. And so we think that we are separate from one another, we are separate individuals. And then it's really hard for us to understand how, when I hurt someone else, how does that come back to me? Of course, I don't want that to come back, but how does that even happen? So on the relative level, it seems that way because there is this duality, this seeming duality when it comes to our bodies, but that duality does not exist in our minds. We actually are not separate from each other. Buddhas and sentient beings have one mind. And therefore, if we harm others, we are actually harming ourselves. For example, it is like you have your hand and you think that each finger is somebody else, and then you bite in one finger, then you are really hurting your whole hand. So if you keep biting that finger thinking that that's him, but that's me, then in the end you will be full of sickness in your whole body. It will ripen on you because you're really biting yourself. And that is because in reality, self and other are not separate. And so for Milarepa, his life really started with a lot of wrongdoing. He had a lot of anger and he did a lot of wrong, but in the end he finally regretted that, and he purified and laid all his wrong aside through deep remorse. And then in the end, having dedicated his life to practice, he attained enlightenment in a single lifetime. And we can see many signs of that even nowadays, that this is really a true story. We can see where he had lived, where he had practiced. We can know about the exact dates of when that happened and about his family and so on. All of these things can still be clearly really traced back to the present day, actually, from the present day until then. So for this reason also Milarepa's story in particular is very precious. And the first thing that we learn from his story is that having done much wrong, he purified all of that through remorse and confession and laying it all aside. So that's the first really important quality that we can learn from his story.
이번에 다다다 담배 출하는 것도 다다다 라마다 교육신이 띵고요. 라마다 교육신이 띵디 소매감이 가리 야로 라메 조당 가리에 봐. 이 시와도 잡고 내라서왔네. 라마도 로바티 정체당 가리에 되라. 당진을 고치 치고요. 제가 뒤니들이 담이 휴식을 될 까와 가리게 방에 가리자 다고 제 가리 같이 했던 말 같이 가리 같이 양대 통에 제가 가리 그런 제가 진짜도 사지가 숨고요래 라도를 주고 자사스니 기도는 콜라토는 속타봐 미적가 베티 대답을 다만아리 봐 찍었다 제가 차례대로 대해서 답을 가지고 봐 대해서 발을 벌셔야 그 가지고 정말이 들었더니 라마가 신바다 로마가 용디 라메 로메 용디 시바다 로메 라메 용디 시네 라메 살라블라 대바다 그바 시바다 라메 쇼아 솔바다 강에 잡을 라메 용디서 다붙이 용디 시네 강에 같이 잡고 라메 로메 용디 시네 다다 송자리 제 탐지 다다 이 남찬는 대바 이거래 베나 다들 말아봐 소망마바 야리 송세 다바바를 대동 강이 되다 그게 매하지 마바를 대시요래 디가요 뭐소가게 벌송이 마바를 고소라뇨 아다 마바데다 왔다베 마바들 고소라뇨래 되게 제가 가르치는 그래서 가제다 뚝고 봐요 pero na로 보이지야 가와니 값이 주니 가지 사지 말이 그때는 그 말이 바꿔왔대 다르지 제가 지금 제가 가리 그 값들이 너무 송이 유대들이 다 동택계다 홀바마 던지는 타만 당신은 당화치사 되나요? 유관 그룹 가수들이 마파를 송이들이 마음 빨아들이 Milarepa 뉴르들이 사제들 속성이 오송은 이런 타는 우송이를 책도 닫아 이거래 대대로 다 대지선이 다 마파한테 락야랬지 까들이 소소로 달라메테 소로 고야 치고도 말이지 다다 때는 지송은 때렸더니 진짜는 다르잖아 Milarepa 들이 와서 아무로 뻑뻑지 들이고다 라도를 주기 자사톱 들이 잡아줬나 그바토로 남산 공선도 통야로 봐 들이 살지다 맹점 많이 봐 그다음에 가지고 봐지 사자들이 냐면 이제 Milarepa 주에 무슨 나중에들이 다 Milarepa 신지 봐 양대 통야로 했지 대지만 바로 송대 신이 Milarepa 뉴를 사제들 속성이고 송도지 다 문제 속성이 샤지 그래서 이 시절에 들이 이치게 방향적으로 했지.
So then the next thing that we learn from his story is that how does a disciple now rely on a guru when practicing the Dharma, and then how many hardships and how does one persevere when enduring those hardships, how many hardships does a disciple endure, or has he endured as a disciple, and then how a guru also, what kind of conduct, what kind of expressions a guru might display, and for example peaceful or wrathful and so forth, and how a guru cares for the disciple, and then now especially Milarepa, how many hardships he had endured with a lot of courage and determination and so on. So all of that we can also learn from his life story. And then we can also learn about the results of having endured all these hardships and having practiced in that way. Then, as the Buddha himself had said, having completed the path, then one attains the kingdom of the Dharmakaya for one's own purpose, and for the purpose of others, one is then able to benefit sentient beings and to bring them out, lift them out from the samsaric states. And this is something that, for example, one person only like Milarepa had accomplished. And as a result of his accomplishment, even nowadays in this world, it is really due to him that the Kagyu lineage is still so renowned. And that was really because he endured all these hardships. So we learn from his story really the qualities of disciple and also of a teacher, the knowledge of a teacher, and how the disciple develops faith and trust, devotion to the guru, and how the blessings of the guru then are received by the disciple and so on, and how he had endured hardships even at the cost of his life. And so it is really because he had really understood the true quality of the Dharma practice that he would heed all the instructions that the Guru had given him. And so all of that is contained in that really short life story of Milarepa here. But basically, essentially from the very time that Milarepa had met with Marpa, he really showed us the entire path of how he first relied on the Guru and how many hardships he endured and how the Guru was beating him and so on. And reading that in the beginning might even make Marpa look like someone without any compassion at all. And actually that's how I myself really saw him in the beginning. And frankly speaking, in the beginning I was a little angry with Marpa too, just for how he had treated Milarepa. But then I found that it might be just necessary to endure really intense hardships for the sake of Dharma. Or for example, we can think of Naropa, who endured 12 major and 12 minor hardships, 24 trials, and Milarepa the same. And now at the very end, when Marpa gave a prophecy, a prediction. And so normally it was the case that Milarepa was considered just the worst of his disciples. He was like in the end of the line, and no one really actually liked him. And so there was this assembly one time, and Marpa was conferring empowerment, and at that time he made a prediction, a prophecy, and he said that in the future it will be due to Milarepa's great determination, his courage, that the Buddha's teachings have a life force tree. And these are words that Marpa had actually said. These words were actually spoken and written down, and we can now read those words. And at that time, when he did say those words, people who heard him say that, maybe at that time people didn't really understand what he really meant with that. But now retrospectively, when we read these words, we can really see he made this prediction of Milarepa being the life force of the Buddha's teachings, and nowadays his teachings are still renowned, the Kagyu lineage. And he is an example of someone who has attained that kingdom, this royal seat of the Dharmakaya, for his own purpose. And he's really someone who actually had attained highest accomplishment in the practice. And that is a true story. It is not just a name or some kind of like story, like a legend and so on, but it's really a true story of a historic person who had actually attained that. And this lineage he then transmitted as the Mahamudra lineage, and it is something that still persists in the present day. And so these were the words that Marpa had already spoken and now became true. And so when we hear that, when we read about that, then trust really arises, and really a belief in the quality of this practice really arises. So that is then what we call the trusting faith.
답이 주지 자식이다. 이제 고라고 자식이와 대다수 가까이 들이 주지 자식이 와대 가리 고고를 들이 다다 그런 짓들이 바쁘여라들이 말아봐 까다에는 폭발하는 욕을 까지 욕들이 바쁘자고 바보 코코자고 그들이 오 다들은 남들 맞추봐야 고전 없이 대 가라를 삼을 말게 땀 이거 속 디지션 저런 좌표를 디지션 번역 땅들이 번역의 용들이 말아봐서 가능을 봐고 가로 도로 가능을 봐들이 공장 갖고는 이 정도를 다 처음에 갖고도 처음 앞에 저는 자고 깨닫도 다 처음에 가라 배들이 도로 배들이 처음 앞에 코로메지 코자고 말해 자고 코메지 혹시 자식이 자식한테 용태에서 취지 자식이 용태시 나 저를 힘벌이야 너 끼가 분이 곳이야 참 가용을 빠고 내 말은 참 말소 갈아타고 대야가 요리지 코로메지 대소 말이 대디하다 커서 나한테 빠고 대가서 코 끼가 좀 곳이 코를 좀 가용을 받대 싸우는 거지 다다 무슨 때다 대지 잡고 고급 잡고서 강화도 문제라는 거 말이야. 다시 잡고만 거요. 다 잡고 다시 맹점 셔던 거 말이야. 그래서 집을 나리 봐서들이 제주 소마를 비싸다가 나부는 맞지 그게 인자들이 선진들이 문에 필요하다. 제가 라고를 주기 자사서 이동을 새끼서 고와 돈을 갖다가 대지를 제가 강에 받았다고 이거요. 까지 나쁘다고 했다 배를 가지고 다 탑에 취지 자식이 받았다고 해서 왜 그런 것도 좀 바빠서 이제 까와지 와서 선진 상태 필요하다 대화 대자고 이것도 이 선진 상태들이 이거는 록님이나 이 선진 상태 동에서 좀 탑이요 말이 이거 취지 뭐가 되지 속고 잘 대화 좀 장어요 차석을 말하시자 그요 노릇도 바닥 정말 상만 좋네요. 서같이 보면 나가시자고 그래 망고리 그래서 동이 치를 거고 그래 그렇지 답이 치료들 예전에도 시설하고 동이 젖을 하고 나라가 다들 동이 라면 치시봐 망고 동이 조금 지는데 제가 망고를 내가 털게 되어왔다 다도 사지에 고만 라면에도 턱을 때 답이 치료까지 턱고 그래 그래서 무슨 제막을 들이 말하니까 그래서 사지자 옆에는 취지 자식이 있다 그래야지 지팀이 자식이 있다 그래야지 지팀이 자식은 내가 맞다봐 땅배치 자원을 배치 가는 데도 가고 제국 자원은 제비 동항을 쪽도 그래 나 같이 나를 데려오고 망고리 취지 자식이 집안에서니 라고를 주기 자식 자살 속에 계셔내가 동도 그랬다 그래 용진이 하고 특별히 남탈때 저 하다 잊어버려 남탈때 때도 되려고 대밭을 대밭 결함이 봐 남도와이 봐 요거요
So we need to distinguish actually between two kinds of kingdoms. There is the kingdom of the holy Dharma, and then there is the worldly kingdoms, the mundane kingdoms. And so, this kingdom of the Dharma, there's one story of Milarepa also that really shows what that is. So there was this one time when Milarepa was staying in Nepal, and he was practicing in Kataya's cave, and at that time going through some aesthetic hardships, and he didn't have any food to eat or any clothing to wear at that time, but he was fully focused on his practice. And at that time the Nepali king of that time heard about this yogin who meditates there and has no food to eat and no clothing to wear and so on, and he really felt moved by that, and he wanted to invite him and offer him some food and clothing. So he sent off some of his messengers to escort him to the king's palace. And so when the messengers then came there, they found Milarepa there sitting in his cave like a beggar, emaciated, no food, no clothing, sitting there meditating. And so they extended their invitation from the king and said that it would be very good for you to go because you will get food and clothing from the king. And Milarepa declined and said, I'm not going. And actually, he is not a king, I'm the king. And then he started to explain the qualities and why he is the king, and how his kingdom is the kingdom of the Dharma, and how he has these 7 royal attributes and so on. And so then at that time, those messengers were really offended, and they felt all this beggar really knows how to do is sing nice songs and speak like something, speak nicely. But really he just sits there, has really nothing, like a beggar. So they really felt quite offended, but then now they returned. So anyways, nowadays, at that time, maybe those messengers looked down on him, even though the king developed devotion. But in any case, nowadays, even the name of that king is not left anymore. Even the ruins of his palace are nowhere to be seen in this world. It's all completely gone in the present day. But now we can see Milarepa's kingdom is still there, and it has not declined. And that's the kingdom of the Dharma, the kingdom of just one person. And that kingdom is really a kingdom that brings the actual benefit to sentient beings and their happiness. He really had attained that kingdom of the Dharmakaya for his own purpose, and for the purpose of others, he continues to benefit sentient beings, lifting them out of samsara. So that is the kingdom of the Dharma. And there have been many great Mahasiddhas, many great masters in the past who have accomplished that. And they have accomplished this kingdom of the Dharma. And so it is important that we have both of these systems, the mundane and also the spiritual system. Because if we only follow our worldly ways, we will not have a way to ever become free from suffering. And even if everything just turns out perfectly in our life, so it seems. We might be very rich, have a lot of possessions and so on, but we will soon find out that it will not bring us happiness. And often people even commit suicide. Even though on the outer level it seems that they really have everything one could just wish for. They have all the money in the world, and they have children, and they have spouses, and everything seems so perfect. But then often because of that, precisely, their suffering is even more intense, and often many of them even take their own life. And that is because they don't understand the workings of karma. If you understand karma, then you understand the causes of suffering. And when you do experience suffering, you are able to practice with it, to take it as the path. And recognizing the causes of suffering, you can avoid more suffering for the future. And if you have that knowledge, then in future lifetimes, from lifetime to lifetime, you will always experience the happiness of the higher realms, and ultimately you attain enlightenment. So this is how you actually really attain freedom. It is really through understanding the holy Dharma. And Milarepa's story is a story that really shows us that in the form of a real story, someone who has actually accomplished that in his life. And so his kingdom is very different than a worldly, mundane kingdom. A mundane kingdom is impermanent and it won't last. Sometimes it won't even last for one lifetime. A king, for the most part, is not always a king. Maybe in the early parts of his life he is a king, and we can see many times in the end they end up in prison too. So there's nothing to rely on when you think about these worldly kingdoms. So Milarepa is someone who has attained the kingdom of Dharmakaya, who has realized the truth that is beyond birth and death. And these are all things that can be accomplished. And that is what we learn when we hear about his story. And that's why it is so important to know about his story, because then real faith arises. And that kind of faith is unchanging. And when your faith is steadfast and unchanging, then you will also be unmistaken on your path.
Rani Sakar to one Nago Wang, the one the Tona, so Rani, Lude, Jasota Sai Mijiwa, Ha Kona, the Nago Wang is. Tim Tato General, Toko Chicketry, and I could say the Chopa Tony Dorjuba. Send it Dorjuba Tony Send an email half or Saja with Tondora. 들리문에 또 왜를 줘요. 다들이 문이라고 지금 저가 그러고 토벌이 소도. 뒤侧에서 보는들이 로마타들다 저왕 자주나 동지 말과 같이 주나 평용도 같이 주나 저종을 이런 왕적의 왕자의 동지 말이들이 다들이라고 또 사적서 하고 지금 공부도 돼서 시랑에 대해서 나와서 용을 그책 예를 대해서 또 왕자 타고 도도 찍지도 동쪽 방어야. 그러면 우리들 사람이 왔다야. 들들 세분대로 나지 임해가 사자집에 동도가 탑대. 그래서 사람들이 지나파. 소마탑이 오다지 시사했다. 고소한테가 고소사에서 대답이 몇명 쌈집을 잡았더니 말을送的 네마치 책 명령을 속지고 그 관계 때문에 양선을 영을 라고 요리 배나 아니 명령을 라고 요리 하도 가르쳐고요. 송석의 피타기들이 말하면 송다, 송기다기들이 내가 지송 키워요.
So to me it seems that Milarepa's life story is actually quite easy to understand, because he goes really right down to the essence. For example, we normally receive a lot of empowerments, and then for each day team there is a whole body of teachings and historical background and visualization, different colors and implements and so forth. And there's many different empowerments. And the essence of all that diversity, for example, is also explained in Milarepa's songs. For the empowerment, Milarepa had said, the outer empowerment is when you have the empowerment base placed onto your crown. The inner empowerment is when you meditate on your own body as the form of the deity. And so that is when you receive an empowerment, you understand then that your own body can ripen into the rainbow-like body of the deity. That's why you visualize your body in the form of the deity. That's the inner empowerment. And then he said the actual ultimate empowerment is when you get to the bottom of the nature of your mind itself, this one nature of mind itself, and that is the actual empowerment. And that means that you realize the non-dual nature of the mind. You realize Mahamudra. That is when you actually will then become free from suffering, when you see the nature of your mind. And at that point you have attained this true unchanging state of freedom. And so now I'm always telling disciples to receive many empowerments because, for example, 100 empowerments are all included within one empowerment. And on the other hand, it's good to receive many empowerments because every time you receive an empowerment, you are like purifying downfalls and negative karma and so forth. But still, even if you just receive one empowerment, all other empowerments are complete within that empowerment. And so that is something that Milarepa had explained in his songs, for example. And that is just one example of how he taught, the method of his teaching. He taught from his own experience. Each and every word that he said is the essence, the quintessence of the teaching. So he always came right down to like the bottom of it, of all the teachings. What's the essence of a deity? Why do we practice the deity? What is an empowerment? And how do we visualize the deity? And actually it is all for the sake of realizing the non-dual nature of mind, of realizing Mahamudra. The deity yoga is just a method to realize the ultimate truth, actually. And so now when I read about that, I really found that very clear and easy to understand. And I really felt that the disciples, when you hear about that, it might be beneficial for you as well. And so now the reason why his words are so powerful is because they come from a direct personal experience. And that is why even just one word, just a few words, are extremely powerful, because they come directly from his heart, directly from his experience. And so for this reason, these kind of words are extremely powerful. And therefore I find that compared to many other instructions, Milarepa's instructions, his teachings, are so much more powerful just because of that, because they come from this very direct experience.
아시스로 로마 시를 펴도 달라봐 요말에 상고 요래 대 탐지 이보르더니 영말할 때 나사대이다 들이 고시치고 요래 일부 바탕지 영말에 봐 거바식라 저런 나와 요리죠 쇼안 네이저 부여래 되게 오 저것도 터고 그래서 저거만 터는 요말에 저거 터서 셋 터야 요말에서 저서서 세는데 셋이 동안 날카를 잡용을 해 가액실 잡으래 다시 이셔 말이 찾아집에 따와서 다기님이 샘 남칼을 찾들에 남칼을 계속 찾는 좋아하는 칼들이 이 유몽아지 시간은 매일 이제 세도왕아 남유몽아 싸와이 시마지 대자들이 사오면서 첫째 차들이 이제 좋아하는 칼 찾대요 공생시야요 말이 가디는 스스로가 대바보다 되다가 공유소 대성 자지지 대자들이 오 들러만 교신에 잡지 영리도 다야 매라 그래서 사지 좀 되죠. 실로 배송하는 배나 따뜻한 사지 그때 말고 요래 주로 걸고 교육이 삼지대 사지 제발 좋아 말이에요. 그 누가 탐지 때 앞에 뒤송 탐지 통사지 참고 뒤에다가 실로 교육이 삼지야 맞들이 송당 톡대들이 딱 잡에 요라 들이 신기야 매라 양 제가 고아치고 요래 그랬더니 그냥 소화 먹을 때 바빠 사는 말 요소 사실 좀 되게 돼서 말이 강직 터바이 뒤바트에서 마내에서 나쁘시들 놓고 요소 말이 들이 뒤남사제 때는 들이 하장들이 하고 이쪽 들이 안생 가고 오다까지 요래서 들이 시제서 봐 들이 시제 대바양제서 봐 다음에 대바제에서 와서 이 시대바제서 봐 들이 요래 소소랑 배자망고 로시르미 말하는 남자 양들로 양들 따로 해.
So now there's some practitioners who do understand the qualities of the Holy Dharma, and they also really have a lot of faith in the various Buddhist teachers, but then still they tend to identify that guru with the guru's physical form. And then when that guru leaves that physical form, when the guru passes into nirvana, then the disciples think now the guru is gone, he is not with us anymore. But actually, to that kind of view, Milarepa's story is actually also a remedy for that kind of view. It really helps us understand the nature of the guru too. In one of the stories, it was when Milarepa was just about to pass into nirvana, and then his disciples were all lamenting, and they supplicated him, "You have control over life and death, so please do not die, remain with us." To which Milarepa replied, "The body has to perish, but the mind will never cease to be. And you know that when you look at your own mind. And the mind will continue to pervade the 5 elements. And that is because there is no duality between self and other. And so you know that when you understand the nature of the mind. And therefore, the mind pervading in an instant, the mind is everywhere, pervading the 5 elements on the outer level. On the inner level, we first have the 5 afflictive emotions, but secretly they are the 5 wisdoms. So it is just like the relationship between a seed and a flower. And so in any case, he said that my mind will continue to pervade all the elements. I cannot die. And therefore, whoever prays to me, I will be right there with them. And these words also recorded. These were his actual words. And actually, these are words that also the Buddha himself had said before he passed into paranirvana, that he will be with them, whoever supplicates to the Buddha. And so nowadays, the Buddha's teachings still remain, and there is many teachers who turn the wheel of Dharma, and actually there is no difference between them and the Buddha himself. The Sangha represents the 3 jewels. The body is the Sangha, the speech the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. And so if you understand that, then you will know that especially the speech and the mind of the spiritual teacher is actually always here, and it can never cease to be. And that's something that we can also learn from Milarepa's life story. So he said that whoever prays to me, I will be right there with them. And also the Buddha Shakyamuni himself had said, whoever supplicates to the Buddha, I will be right by their side and always grant my blessings. So again, this is a reason why it is good to see his story. When we hear this particular story, then maybe first we will feel a little bit sad that the Guru is Milarepa in the story is leaving, but then the next moment we feel happy because we know that the Guru actually never leaves, he's always there. And then again, this is a way when we read this story a method for us to develop trust, this trusting faith. So through this story we can develop this clear faith and trusting faith. And this is what happened to me personally. I personally don't really know how to read all kinds of books and scriptures, but I still actually do again and again read the different stories of Milarepa.
그래서 소라니자 남사의 도리들이 말해봐 남사 총두인이들이 변자도 요래 배와 요래 자네들이 스타를 랩에 다 내고지를 랩터보면도 다 랍스를 인지를 랩때 어떻다 특별해서 특별해로 가면들이다가 무슨 남타 통화다 무슨 랩아니 양치바 치고도 그것들이 남타하는데 요래 랍스 너도 부모처럼 팬네 나와 니마 쪽지를 가봐봐 라고 매바차 들이 나와 쪽들이 부모처럼들이 공라요래 라는들이 깍들이 딱 보마 잡지게 이지마 지가 들이라고 하자 라마 딱 고통송요래 다 연말이 되들이 라마 고통이 들이 강자는 영어 강들이 라마 들이 그래서 당기에들이 이쪽요래 들이 시험을 들이 코도 하래들이 참 가래시 마셔들이 참사를 가로바 잡지게 그냥 소트게도 소아트게도 참sam들이 콩 칼라카나 사마고 하더니 칼라를 두고 자송하는 칼라를 두고 카들 빼서고 yap고 차려도 그래서 때 가지를 해요. 그다 지가가 된다고들이 콩대로 자송서 어디가리 무슨 저런 시성들이 저런 주고 앞으로 가리 소홀 퍼가리 다 때려다면서 시성화 쇼탐들 설탐 주고는 뭐야 현공은 주고 앞으로 부스들이 랩도 좀 대소반을 대상들이 아주 고치 치고 요래 돼야 그래서 대상들 가는 데는 다 사지게 현공만 주고 앞으로 왔다 현공만 설탐 뭐할 때 봐서 지들이 배려를 파마 맥스라스고 그다음에 인상 예다 저기 시소는 바도를 납시들 주고는 보통이 요래 대상들은 뭐하지는 들이 무슨 토크요가 무슨 테마 다 이치게 되어들이 되그래 그 가리를 토크요 했지만 당고 나가서 또 들이 성지 탐지를 잡아 사바체를 봐 요거래 대오늘들이 대리적으로 사지 탐지 그 기승의 사지 탐지 사바체를 또 때를 비가 차고 요래 들이 취지도 없이 받들에 들이 바시 남시대라 이제 주가를 생 란테사들 내가 엄청 왕마도 이 동네들이 고소 그랑을 조요말 조 베베를 들이라 갈라라서 왔다지 무슨 뜨거운 풍도 해매 왔자 무슨 톱도 요래지 남산도 대위적도 취지도 없어 다진이 돈은 맞아봐 동당도 대박을 대마통을 들이대지 대답도 하고 대다 탑지를 다 상초 제고도 모아쓰고 지는 비용도 다 상당히 배기도 내가 상대 저들이 고도 사만을 대시와리 대답을 이나 납토도 올라가 있지 무슨 대답들이 요새 좀 왜를 했지
So also when I was still very young, I encountered Milarepa's story, and at that time already I really felt a strong connection to Milarepa. And however, it was only later when I had already arrived in the West that I was actually able to do a pilgrimage to Lapchi, where Milarepa had lived and meditated. And I've arrived in Lapchi twice, and I really insisted on going there because I really wanted to see that place. And I can really say there is really a difference in just hearing about his story and then actually directly seeing it. So that was also really powerful to actually see this place. And so, for example, then I can relate a certain place that I visited to the story that I heard about before. For example, there is this one story about when Milarepa was staying in Lapchi in this, the Mara Subduing cave. So there anyways, in that cave he stayed for 6 months in meditation, and it was snowing, and the snow then finally blocked all the paths to travel. So there was no more path to travel, and Milarepa could not leave that place. And then his disciples were certain that Milarepa he must have died, and they just made their preparations for finding his dead body after the snow had melted in spring. And so then when the snow had melted and they were looking for his body, then they found him alive and not he hadn't died, and they were all really amazed and asked him, like, how was that possible? How did you live? And Milarepa said that sometimes Dakinis came and gave him food, and sometimes he just naturally didn't have to eat. He just felt full, as though he had eaten, and even he felt like a smell, a taste of food in his mouth, even though he didn't really eat. And then the disciples were quite surprised by that, and they asked him, now when was that? On which day did you feel like that? And then he remembered the day, and he said, on those and those days I didn't feel a need to eat at all. I just felt naturally full. And then the disciples realized that exactly on those days they were actually making offerings on Milarepa's behalf, because they thought that Milarepa had passed away already. So they were making Gana Chakra feast offerings for Milarepa. And then Milarepa realized, these practices really must be actually beneficial. No, we are doing those smoke offering practices for those who are alive and for those who have passed away, and making offerings and dedications for them. And so Milarepa realized that these offerings, these dedications are actually received by those beings. And that's actually one other thing that we can learn from his life story. And the Buddhas have said that we should make offerings to the higher beings, and we should be generous to sentient beings, dedicate to them, give that to them, make smoke offerings and so on. For example, when somebody that we love has died, like our parents, then we are making dedication prayers to them. And actually when we are making these dedications, then that Bardo consciousness actually receives that. And during the Bardo they experience a lot of intense suffering of heat and cold and hunger and thirst and so on. And we can actually alleviate that by making these offerings to them. So then again, when you hear that story, trusting faith arises within you. And so then how is it that those beings really get what we are dedicating to them? It is by virtue of 3 powers. First, there is the power of your own intention. And that is, first of all, you need to have this all-pervasive, boundless love that wishes to benefit sentient beings. And then the second power is the power of all the Buddhas of the 3 times compassion. So then when you cultivate this boundless love, then you are naturally connecting to the love of all those Buddhas. So it becomes so much more powerful then. And then third is the power of the Dharma Dhatu, and that is that the basis of our mind is one. So for example, we are naturally connected to that Bardo consciousness. And that Bardo consciousness, for instance, is only momentarily in a state of confusion. And in that state, it doesn't have a body. And it experiences heat and cold and hunger and thirst. But if we are making dedications and offerings of food to them with a good intention, then that actually can alleviate their experience of suffering, because they do not actually have a body that with which they experience heat and cold and hunger and thirst. It's a mental experience. And that is why when we offer with our mind and with love, that suffering, this confused perception, then can actually be cleared away. And that is why we relieve them from suffering. So ultimately it is because self and other are not separate. And when we pervade them with our love, then they can even see the ultimate truth. So it is through those three powers that we can actually benefit those beings. For example, when we practice the inscription puja for the deceased, or we do other dedication prayers and smoke offerings for those who are alive and those who have passed away and so on. And because that's so beneficial, it's also so beneficial to translate and then also distribute the related scripture. And so when we hear those stories, then again trust arises, and then we can also again learn what kind of qualities and what actually can be accomplished if we do certain practices. So now in general, for reading a Dharma books, any Dharma book, now if it is possible, then actually it is very good if when you read a Dharma book, that you're reading it out loud so that you can actually hear yourself read it. That's actually extremely beneficial and also has health benefits, because when you're reading a book out loud, you're moving your tongue. Moving your tongue stimulates your saliva, which is good for your stomach. So it can also cure a lot of stomach related, like all kinds of ailments. And that's like one benefit. Another benefit is that when you read things out loud, then those things stick to your mind much easier. So you will remember them easier later on. And that will be very useful when you're older, when you can't read anymore, because then you will be able to remember all of the things that you have read before. You memorize everything that you read before. Most it is like that people have a habit of just reading quietly. They're just reading with their eyes really and reading quietly. And that's actually not the best way to read. So it's good to read out loud. And of course that's only if it's convenient. If you're like in a public place, like in an airplane, then maybe that's not very convenient. But if it's convenient, then you should really read each word very clearly out loud. And also what's very beneficial is if you take a Dharma book like this and you discuss it with each other. And really the songs of Milarepa really are the roots of the Buddha Dharma. Actually, within a single word, 100 words are contained. So he really explains the essence of the Dharma teachings. So his teachings are extremely important, and it is clearly my hope that in the future you will study these teachings more thoroughly. And therefore I'm also really very grateful for that book having been translated. The merit for that is really actually the greatest merit. It's incredible because that book will remain for many future generations, and in the future anyone who sees this book will find benefit. And actually any book in this world that somehow helps sentient beings find peace and happiness is really of an incredible merit, because anyone who sees that will really find joy and happiness and the path towards you. So the merit is really actually inconceivable, and we do need that merit in all future lifetimes, because there will always be a mind until attaining enlightenment. There will always be our mind wherever we are born in the 6 realms and samsara. We do need merit. So one of the greatest ways to accumulate merit is through translating a book like this. So it is actually very precious to take a certain special kind of books that are really very meaningful and translate them. It's a very important activity.
네, 가다 사과들이 로마 교신이 고 되게 로마 편집 받게 잡으시 되잖아. 그래서 지금 로마 편집 받았더니 도런지는 되게 하자 비치고 요래. 시인은 빼피는 요래라 가리 지나라고 우리 하고를 시고 하마를 시야요 말이. 저거 지금 로마는 고마고 마고 요래. 그래서 고트고요. 가수칼이 나타 돌아이 나타다 답을다 제가 탐지치 보고 저거들 넘버 비신이 탐지 같이 먹고 나고 요래 이 탐지 처도 추지 너도 계속 보고 거리 다 삼지에 되지 사족선데 그것도 내가 사족선 삼지에 대해서 누가 했다고 자고를 하고를 진짜 같이 맞추는 진짜 아 도지 요래 그렇게 와지 돌아이 지지 저거 요래
And also I think that it's to practice the Dharma you don't always have to wait for a special Lama to come, but it's also very important for the disciples to really discuss the meaning of those teachings among each other. That's really very important. And the one who teaches, the one who explains something, actually it benefits that person too. And actually whatever you know and whatever you really know, that you really understand, that is something that you should share with others. Of course, if you don't really fully understand something, then you shouldn't also share it. But there is many things that you really can easily understand in those teachings of Milarepa or any other teaching really. Nowadays, many lamas led by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and many other lamas are giving various teachings throughout the world. So you can discuss all of these teachings, the meaning of these teachings. And so the essence, the root of all these teachings is bodhicitta. It is the relative truth. It is love. So even though there's lots of teachings that you can hear, what we really need to do is to sustain love, maintain love with patience. And then aside from that, the more you hear, the more you learn, will be an enhancement for your practice. So I find that the discussion among each other is really very important.
bersangat thank you.
תודה רבה.